Easy as pie, so they say. Well, we're going to see how easy this one is today. We're making a savory pie, a deep dish chicken pie. Our recipe today comes from this book, The Complete Everyday Cookbook, and it's even got a handy dandy little heart sticker up there from whoever owned this before me. Now, this cookbook comes to us from the year 1971. And like I said, we're going to be making deep dish chicken pies today. And these are supposed to be, from my understanding reading the recipe, like little individual servings. So we're going to try to do that. And the first step today involves pulling out the big boy. Into a stock pot, I have got a whole chicken here, and the recipe says to just cover it with water. I also have some roughly cut up celery and onions here, and you don't have to worry about the cut too much because this is just to make a stock. This right here is eventually going to be taken out of the water. You're going to remove that and you're going to replace it with some new celery and onions coming up. So like I said, this is just to create a stock with the chicken. This is going to go on and simmer for, as it says in the recipe, about 2.5 to 3 hours. So about 2.5 hours passed since I started the chicken. I took the chicken out of the pot, I have taken the meat off the bones, and I have strained the liquid, the broth, the stock, whatever you want to call it, and reserved 3 cups of it, which is right here. And we're going to put this back on the stove for about 6 minutes according to the directions. But before we do that, we're basically going to turn this into like a gravy. So I have a half cup of cream here, and I also have some flour. We're going to combine these two so that this is smooth, and then put that in our stock on the stove again. While that's simmering on the stove, I'm going to compile our filling here, and that includes the chicken, which has been pulled off of the bone. And also, this recipe is kind of interesting because it calls for some small onions. I'm guessing they mean like pearl onions, I'm not quite sure. But they want you to put those whole into the middle of the individual dishes that we have when we go to bake these. I did not have any small onions like that, so what I did is I just chopped up a regular onion because it wants them cooked, as well as celery that the recipe calls for. So I'm just going to put all of that, the onions and the celery, into the mixture here. There's peas, which are going in, of course, a classic chicken pot pie ingredient. And then this one's kind of interesting. It calls for a quarter pound of chopped ham, diced ham. So that is going to go into our little filling here as well. And also I have some chopped parsley. This is fresh parsley, but if you don't have the fresh, I'm sure that the dried would do the trick. It just wouldn't have the same freshness of flavor. And of course, we still need to make the crust for the top of these, which is simply just flour and salt and cornmeal. So I'm going to mix those together. And then we're going to cut in, it calls for lard. I don't have lard here. I do have butter. Any kind of fat is going to work. So lard, butter, Crisco, margarine, you name it. If you've got it, use it. I'm using butter. And then we're going to add just enough water that it holds together but isn't too sticky. Now that our dough is assembled, we're going to roll it out and then cut some circles that are 1 inch larger than the little dishes that I will be baking these in. And then finally, the last thing we're going to do before we bake these is, of course, we have to assemble them. So we're going to put our chicken mixture in first and fill up the bowl. Top that off with the broth that we created on the stove. And then top all of that with the crust. And then we're going to prick some fork holes in that and put it in the oven for about 25 minutes. It's officially time for my favorite part of the program, which is time to try it. The crust is really interesting on it. I think because it has the cornmeal in it, it's not quite your traditional pie crust that's on top. The filling itself, I think, is fine. I think it could use some more flavor. There's no pepper or anything in this. I definitely think it needs some black pepper at minimum, but with a little bit more flavor, this is a great little recipe. Give it a try. Let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you next time.